Well, it's 6 o'clock. Good evening. Call to order the Planning and Zoning regular meeting, February 11th, 2026. We have all the Planning and Zoning commissioners here. We have Mr. Maloney, Mr. Akbar. Apgar, sorry. Thank you all. I'm going to get it.
That's all right. Just call me Rod.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bates and Mr. Howard and our new commissioner, Mr. Johnson. So with that, we have a quorum, and stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, moving on to citizen comment period. We have any citizens signed up?
No, we did not have anyone sign up.
Okay, thank you, Marissa. Okay, moving on to our business items. Item 4.1, in your packet, 4.1 is the approval of the meeting minutes for November 12th, 2025, for our regular planning and zoning meeting. Those minutes were in your packet. Can I get a motion for approval on the minutes?
I move to approve the meeting minutes from November 12th.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And I, Rod Apgar, will abstain from this vote since I was not here during that meeting and am not aware of what transpired.
All right, thank you. Okay, item 4.2, items applicable to the Planning and Zoning Commission discussed at City Council. We did have at 2 council meetings ago, because we didn't meet in December or January. Just some updates. We have 2 appointments that City Council appointed for the Planning and Zoning Commission. We have Mr. Apgar.
Just say Rod.
Rod.
This is easy. There you go.
We have Rod that was appointed in January. And then we have Mr. Johnson, Christopher Johnson, that was appointed just a week ago. So welcome. And other items that was discussed at the Planning and Zoning, City Council, just a lot of updates from TxDOT on development that's on their construction project. Won't get too much into it, just things, the construction's moving along, not a little set, but I think they're a little behind, but I think they're trying to make up for time on that. Other than that, just exciting to hear there's some, the city's out with that, going out for trying to market the city, and so there's some exciting things happening there. So hopefully we have some things that come down the and for development, and so there's some good news there. Hopefully we'll start getting busy and start reviewing some of those development plans that do come in. But I know City Council is working hard on that. So moving on to 4.3, we do have a preliminary plat establishing the Grace Covenant Church being a total of 2.826 acres, inclusive of a 0.0446 acre right-of-way dedication, establishing Lot 1, Block 1, Garden Ridge, Comal County, Texas, and being the same property conveyed by special warranty deed with vendor's lien to Grace Covenant Presbyterian Church, recorded in document 202-406-004783 of the official public records of Comal County. So this is the next step in having this property developed. It's the preliminary plat. There will be the final plat once once that is ready, and that'll come before us. But right now, it's the approval of that preliminary plat. So I'll ask the commission if they have any questions or comments. Ryan?
Commissioners, this is, like you had mentioned, a preliminary plat that'll eventually go to city council next month. Hank Crippen is here, our engineer. He has the approval letter in there. And then we have Mr. Scott Dye. Oh, I'm sorry. The property owner here, if you have any specific questions. But as far as a recommendation, it is recommended for approval through our engineer for a preliminary plat.
Any comments, or it's pretty straightforward? So what I'll need from I do need a motion for approval to send that.
I make a motion that we approve Grace City Covenant Church being a total of 2.826 acres inclusive of .0446 acre right-of-way dedication establishing Lot 1, Block 1, Garden Ridge, Comal County, Texas, and being that same property conveyed by special warranty deed with vendor's lien to Grace Covenant Presbyterian Church, recorded in document 202-406-007, 004783 of the official public records of Comal County, Texas.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Second. I have a second. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Okay, motion passes for recommendation to City Council for approval. Moving on to 4.4. So this has been something that has been in the works for a while, and now it's upon us for review. Everyone should have received this item is our subdivision ordinance. It's basically a rewrite of Ordinance 7, and it basically clarifies and adds clarification to a lot of to Ordinance 7, where it would help future subdivisions or developments that do come before planning and zoning or to the city. And so I think at this time I could turn it, Ryan, do you?
Yes, sir. Commissioners, in front of you, you have the subdivision ordinance there. It should have been in the packet there. The, I think 60-odd pages. In front of you also is just a 2 or 3 page summary. These are sort of the highlights that gets into each subchapter and what has been recommended as changes. I'll start out by saying that, you know, I was not here when the original subdivision ordinance was put in place, and I think Hank's new to it, Dan, our city attorney. So the subdivision ordinance and what has changed does have elements of one of the previous cities I used to work in, because there were still areas to be developed from that standpoint. So it was putting some of those pieces in place. We did have the technical planner out of our city attorney's firm who put these amendments together. And if you want, I can go through sort of what the intent and purpose, and then highlight some of the areas that were the actual amendments to this ordinance, if you want. That's kind of throughout these 3 pages. I think the goal is that we're here between myself, Hank, or Dan to answer any questions. But if they're technical, then we'll get back with the planner himself and come back next month and try to answer any other questions you might have. So we can get this moving to city council. You know, I think probably we can take it up next month for P and Z if necessary, and then get it to council by April. That's the time frame. Does that work? That works with y'all, so. But the purpose of the amended subdivision ordinance is to promote sound planning and the development and subdivision of land within the city of Garden Ridge and its extraterritorial jurisdiction, protect public health, encourage orderly, consistent, and equitable development, support modern subdivision planning principles, ensure adequate public facilities, infrastructures, and maintain conformance with the city's comprehensive plan and adopted development policies. So if you look in subchapter 1, some of the areas that have been amended or highlighted is applicability clarified to include subdivisions within the ETJ, definitions updated and expanded, adequate public facility requirements, vested rights provision, building permit eligibility clarified. And then in subchapter 2, in regards to procedures, it introduces a certification of exhibits, the process. This is to verify documentation before formal plat submission. It expands procedures to include subdivision master plans, adds processes for minor plats, amending plats, replats, and plat vacations. Adds process timelines to ensure compliance with statutory deadlines, 30-day shot clock. A few years ago, legislation changed that had to be done in 30 days or it was automatically accepted. Streamline approvals, remove P and Z commission from plat review. Plat proceeds directly to city council. Terminology change, plat variance is renamed to waivers, expanded guidance on waiver criteria and processing. So that's the highlights under procedures for subchapter 2. Subchapter 3, designs, introduces block size regulations, talks about minimum, maximum lengths, prohibits flag lots. I know those are pretty sort of controversial in a lot of cities, especially when you're developing. Requires cross-access easements, mandates sidewalks or trails for all subdivisions, adds street design standards, including the width of streets, cul-de-sacs, block length limits, driveway and access standards, private streets permitted if they meet all city standards. Clarifies responsibility for parameter, street dedication and infrastructure costs, requires secondary access for subdivision with more than 30 lots consistent with fire code. Must also ensure above 100-year floodplain as well. Developer responsibility is expanded under this ordinance. Street and traffic sign installation, street lights installation, fire hydrant spacing, and then water well restrictions all fall under this subchapter 3 for design standards. Continuing on, enhanced drainage requirements, including general and detailed drainage studies at various platting stages, which are currently not in place right now. And then parkland dedication requirement established through development process may require dedication of parkland or fee in lieu. Also mandate park improvements or equivalent fee, and fees and contributions must set in city's fee schedule managed through a dedicated parkland fund if necessary. So as I mentioned there in the summary of statement, overall the updated subdivision modernizes Garden Ridge's subdivision regulations to align with state law, best planning practices, which is important, and then community needs. It'll strengthen the infrastructure requirements, clarify the process especially, enhance flexibility for both city staff and developers, ensuring that the growth, not only now and in the future, is well-planned, equitable, and sustainable. So that pretty much covers the highlights of what's being amended in the current ordinance.
Thank you, Ryan. That was a great summary. Kind of highlights what the document reflects, the new document. I think, reading through the new document, I think it really, it covers all the, it updates the document to cover all some of the clarifications that were in the old document that the city had to work through. Is there, I'll turn it over to my colleagues. Any comments or questions? I'll start with you, Joe.
Actually, no, Carmen, I read through it, very detailed document, very comprehensive. I guess the only question I had is the summary that he did a very good job on, that Ryan did a very good job on, seems to talk more about what's in the future, not so much what's present, so.
That's correct. And
Okay.
that's the intent of the document, as the city's looking to the future, and this needed to get updated to cover some of those gaps that the old document had, the old ordinance.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think important to say that when you say best planning, that it covers most community standards in most cities, especially around Texas right now, that we're in line with those. Last council meeting, we updated our building code that's been behind for a while. We're gonna move forward with a permit fee schedule to get that up and running. So those things are tied to those developments when plat starts coming forward and development review comes forward. So we're working to, it's not necessarily a P and Z, but it just, they're applicable, you know, so we're working to tie all those together.
A lot of good things happening in the city, good to see.
Any other comments from the commission?
Chairman, I have a couple comments. I think the document's very well written, it's very clear. I think addressing items such as applicability, and responsibility for, it clarifies responsibility for perimeter street dedication infrastructure costs is important, and also enhanced drainage requirements in the third section, very important areas, among the other things that were pointed out. I did have one question on section 1.9, the development manual, page 13. On my copy, it had some side comments on regarding the development manual, if that's something that's going to be produced concurrently or at a later time. And I think this may be old comments on the side that may have been reworked, and may have an old draft. But it does say that the development manual can be a collection of items that are on the website in various locations, but it's recommending that we put the development manual together, and it recommends expanding current development manual to include public infrastructure permit and floodplain development permit applications. It's basically, section 1.9 addresses, you know, basically a packet of development, the development manual. So that may be something that is gonna be worked on in the future on this.
And Commissioner Howard, if I may jump in, the development manual does exist. There just are some gaps. For example, the public infrastructure permit is mentioned in here, but is not currently in the development manual. Nor do we have the floodplain development permit application, which is available, but it's not currently in the development manual. So it's just a few tweaks to update those pieces to make sure that it talks better with this document.
It's the development manual will be in line with updating the subdivision ordinance. Correct. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, so these are just comments that were worked through. Thank you, that answers my question.
Thank you. I do have one just question on section 2.16, the public infrastructure permit inspections and acceptance of public infrastructure. It does mention on going down to G, inspections of public infrastructure improvements are to be done by the city. So it's section 2.16 G1, inspections, that the city shall from time to time inspect the construction of all utility, all the utility in the streets and the subdivision. That's gonna be, would that be Public Works, city staff? It's on page 33.
Commissioner Yackman, that's correct. It
No,
would be
or-
it would either be Public Works or
or-
a designee
or the
of
designee.
Public Works.
Okay. The other, sidewalks, I know it has sidewalks in here, on the new, ordinance. Let me see, believe that is page 43 on the table. I like that table on, page 43, and that is section 3.7, streets, and it's on page 43 with, where it has the table for roadway improvements. That's a nice, I like that table where it's very clean and very easy to read. And then have the sidewalks there for that. So I know in the past, in the city, we have no sidewalks, but is that something that we're looking, this document is now going to be requiring sidewalks in those future developments?
And
Okay.
correct, that's a point of conversation is this, as written, would require sidewalk with the collector, local, marginal street
Okay.
arterials. So that is
Yeah.
good to point out.
Okay, thank you. I think, well, those were all my comments, like, I think the document's well-written, I think it, I mean, for me, based on the comments I've received, Commissioner Agmar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
this is Rod Apgar here. I may be the new guy, and so I may be going about this all wrong, but I've got several comments that I would like to address if I could. In your definitions, in the old ordinance, you had the definition for shall, meaning it is always mandatory. I did not see that definition in here, and unfortunately, I tried to do a word search with my analog eyeballs. So I'm not sure whether the word shall ever is in this document or not. And if it is, I would recommend that we define that as we did in the old one, that it is always mandatory. And if they want relief from that mandatory requirement, they have to come in and ask for that to be done.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay, okay, great, thanks. It is in there under the word definitions in the opening paragraph, not in the line, not in the word spelled out. So I did miss that. Thank you very much. So that one's good. We already addressed the one on page 13, so that's good. Up on page 21, in the old document, they had a maintenance bond of 130%. I did not see that term at all in here, and so number one, can someone educate me what a maintenance bond of 130% was in our current document, and why we don't think we need that in this document? Okay, I just went to page 21, where they were talking about the plats and the revision in the preliminary plat. In the original ordinance that we have today, around that same area, on page 14, it talks about a developer needing to put up a maintenance bond of 130%. I did not see that in this document. And number one, I'm not sure what a maintenance bond does, and number two, if it's even applicable for this document under a revised document. Okay?
Commissioner Rod, if I might, I can give a little bit of clarity on this perhaps. So warranty bonds would basically be when you install, let's say, a new road or public infrastructure of any kind. You're warranting that it's going to be in service for at least 2 years. And any defects within those 2 years, you go back and you can do an inspection and ask them to correct deficiencies. Well, if that contractor's unavailable to do that work for whatever reason, then you can pull that bond and go get that work done. Now, there is a portion in here for performance bonds for 20% of construction cost. And where that comes in is rather than, if you need to pull utilities to your said tract for the plat, you can, rather than getting all of that established and accepted prior to the plat being done, you can either provide a bond for 20% of the construction costs, or you can, there's other methods or financial methods you can go, but those should be laid out in here. And those are taken care of in certain sections. If you give me some time, I might be able to find the exact section that it's talked about.
Okay, so you don't think then we need this maintenance bond in case some contractor goes belly up within the 2 years? Because I did not see it in here, but again, maybe I am wrong. I could be.
It should be in there. Just give me one moment to find it.
I mean, Hank, typically that's already laid out in contracts when we do projects individually with the contractor.
Okay.
So when we award a contract, that language should already be in there that, you know, the performance bond, you know, that they have a year or two that, you know, that the road, did that in my last city where typically the contractor had 2 years if something happened where there was something that needed to be addressed or they were responsible for it, and you could pull the bond. But I don't know necessarily applicable here versus making sure it's just in a contract when we award to a contractor.
Okay. Page 39, at the very end where we're talking about dead-end streets and cul-de-sacs. I know when we got this new garbage service, George Ranch, there was a couple streets that it was very, very tight turnaround for the garbage truck to go down to that cul-de-sac and make the turn and come back out. And I'm not smart enough to know the answer to this, but are those diameters and dimensions that are listed there in E2 there under page 39, are those sizes good enough to meet the garbage truck's turnaround as they go down to the end of the cul-de-sac? And I do know the heavier the garbage truck gets and tighter the turn, the more they tear up the pavement. So again, we need to be thinking about that too, where that may be the minimum, but are then we accepting cost for redoing the roads more often because these heavy vehicles are tearing up our roads? That's just something for you all to think about. I don't know what the answer is.
And that's, so this sets right-of-way, not necessarily pavement radius. However, when a subdivision submits for fire review, for example, they actually require them to drive a fire truck, which is a larger turn radius than trash trucks. So that's something that's been done more recently for the past 10, 15 years, a lot more commonly. This right-of-way should be sufficient for that. Really what the right-of-way helps set on these cul-de-sacs is adequate amount of frontage for driveways to be set with utilities next to it. So that's kind of what that would set. And then when you get into a subdivision review in itself, that's when you would look at pavement and turnarounds.
Okay, thank you. Page 44, it looks like U3 where we talk about street lighting. I know one of the niceties that brought me to Garden Ridge was not a lot of ambient light, the darkness, being able to see stars at night. Now it sounds like in our subdivisions, we want street lights in there, so now we're adding more ambient light. Is that something that we are consciously doing for safety? Because we catch a lot of people walking around at night in black clothes with no flashlight on, or no flashlight, or why are we adding this when Garden Ridge had and has an appeal to certain people because of the low light that we have?
From a legal standpoint, I think that would have to go to Mr. John James, or I don't have a response on that one, unfortunately.
A lot of it is being done because of safety issues and everything. That's one of the reasons it's in here. Of course, we can always go back and modify it as you wish. You know, I know Bernie has, I think it's a dark night light type situation that they have over there where the lights are not normal like you would see in San Antonio. They're made for, you know, so you can still see the stars.
Is that worth putting that in there? And so that, because if I come in with open light like in San Antonio.
Right. You're not
And
gonna
you
see the
tell me I
stars.
can't, I go, why?
Right.
It meets your standards here. So I personally, I'm one vote up here,
Right.
would recommend that we put that type of lighting in so we can keep the ambiance of what Garden Ridge has to offer for citizens and future citizens. That's just my
And
input.
Commissioner, we can do that. If that's what y'all wish for us to do, we can go back and add it in and, you know, specific type of light that's allowed.
Excuse me, Chair Jockman, if I may. So Rod, and again, correct me if I'm wrong here, but my understanding is that this ordinance is applicable to any new subdivision construction within
Yes.
Garden Ridge.
That is
So my
correct.
question to you all is looking at the city map, I don't know that we have any property left to build out for another subdivision. Do we or do we not?
I would say there's just a small section potentially, and that's.
Oh, there is?
Yeah. But the thing, again, looking at this, these design standards and what probably that was put together by the planner, again, are applicable to most cities' design standards, and having the developer put these in ahead of it. And again, we're talking about something that exists versus the future. So the reason why this is in here and changed to be in here is because you want to make sure the developer is putting these in, right? And so you want to make sure they're putting it in and not necessarily the city. And so, but again, like Dan says, we can modify accordingly. Yeah, and that's why it's here in front of y'all, because if we want to make sure that we can modify it to what kind of is Garden Ridge. But a lot of this has to do with, you know, future development and making sure those things are covered.
Chairman, I have one comment, if I may.
And I guess my last comment would be on page 50. It's called Land Clearing Restrictions, number A. It says, "No clear cutting or rough cutting land shall be permitted until a preliminary plat has been approved by the city council." Okay, my interpretation of that, if I was a land developer, is if you blessed my plat, I could go in and mow down all the trees and do what I want to with it. Because you approved my plat. That's what makes Garden Ridge again, is all the beautiful trees. And in the subdivision I'm in, we even got trees in the middle of the roadways as islands to help control traffic and to keep the trees there. I hate to see land just clear cut and then come back in and put buildings in and then go plant some trees in there to make it look good. I'd rather the preliminary design and all of that leave as many trees in there as they can. I may not be reading this right, but that's just my interpretation of what that says and why I'm concerned with that.
No, that's a great point, Commissioner Rod, and it's actually in, I think it's 2020, we passed a tree preservation ordinance. So that is covered in a different ordinance altogether. But we do have a tree preservation ordinance. That would still be in effect aside from this.
And do we, I guess,
I think
Do
this
we need
more
to-
is just saying that you cannot go in and cut anything down until your preliminary plat has been approved, which has been an issue here. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. There was an area that was completely cleared and no one had any idea what was going on with it. I think that's more of what this is saying. Even after your plat's approved, though, there are still requirements and standards that have to be met, that you can't just go in and clear everything. That would come from the zoning ordinance that y'all also oversee.
okay, thank you very much. And that's, I'm sorry to take so much time, but that's all of the questions that I have. Thank you.
That's why we're here, is for every one of y'all to go through any questions you might have. So, no problem.
Chairman?
Thank you. Yes.
I just have a couple of things I could add for information regarding those questions. On page 34, the maintenance and warranty improvement, it does address the options of bonding for maintenance, so that is in there. And I guess, and it will depend on contractual, how it's set up, whether it's bonded through construction bond and maintenance, or separate, and that's all contractual information, but it is addressed in maintenance and warranty of improvements. So that is in there for bonding options. And then also, I do want to point out that even with the approval we did tonight with the Grace Covenant Church preliminary plat approval, this approval does not negate any state or other regulatory entity requirements. So many of the other state regulatory, city, other things, just by giving the approval for a preliminary plat doesn't negate the other regulatory entities. So there is separate entities for that, and that, I'm sure that's why it becomes so complex and why the planning information is so exhaustive, but that's part of the reason.
I think there's a little bit too with the warranty. We're talking about like when a developer comes in, that they have that 2 years to repair, modify, or improve upon in this sense. You know, when we do like road work, you know, the contracts that when we do like road work or any other infrastructure, it's built in for performance and of course the warranty part. So the performance is that, you know, if they are not doing it in the days that they contractually said they would do it in, you start hitting them in the pocketbook with the performance. And then the warranty comes into place when, again, that if the street starts failing within a year, they have to come back and repair it. But I think here it's focused on the developer ensuring that what he's built is in place for 2 years from that standpoint. Correct, Kate?
That's correct. A very common issue is detention ponds. They'll put a pond in and the grass won't take, or a big storm will come in a year later and it blows out the berm on the pond. With this in place, we can go back to them and enforce them to fix it.
Great questions. Darren?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. Just want to comment on Commissioner Apker's mention of the land clearing restrictions on page 50, with the importance of tree preservation within Garden Ridge, that maybe we ought to annotate in there that we do have ordinance related to it so that it's not missed in any way. In addition, just to highlight the importance of preventing oak wilt and its spread, probably a good thing to maybe to emphasize in that section. On page 46, I would like to maybe get a little bit of background as I make a comment on page 46. So it's under section 3.9, water utility, paragraph C2, the existing wells. So new wells are prohibited. I think that makes sense. I can probably figure out why. But kind of looking at the hierarchy of needs, if you will, I think it goes air, water, food, and money. with water being the number 2 priority, I would imagine that if folks have a well on their property, I don't, had a well on their property, and now the city was tapping into it, you know, had the rights to do that, that may frustrate a lot of people. So I would imagine that the city's trying to preserve water, and I think that that's important. But I'm curious as to what other background there may be on this push to connect to those wells. I do see that a backflow is to be put on those wells if they are connected to the city, and that those wells can only be used to potentially, if approved, irrigate the property, but not to be used for potable water. So, I don't know, Mr. Manager, yeah.
From that perspective, unless Hank wants to add anything, we'd have to find out from Mr. James what the background and rationale is for that one
Okay.
specifically. So I see that as a pretty technical question, so we'll have to get back with him. But we can.
I do
Go
believe
ahead.
that, I mean, it's up for discussion on whether pre-existing well must be disconnected. Is that what you're focusing on? If you
Well,
connect
for
to
one,
city
that
water?
the city would connect to it, seems like it's just gonna happen automatically. Maybe it's not, maybe some wells could be grandfathered in, you know, for property owners. Maybe once the property is turned over, then things change. But I could also imagine that would decrease the value of the property for some people who desire to have a well, and its convenience. And then, in addition to, the well would then not be able to be used for potable water, I'm guessing, for the landowner, the homeowner.
It's something we could look more into.
Yeah.
If the entire commission is in agreement, we can look at that specific piece and see if there's a way that we can be less restrictive on that.
Well,
If
I'm
the
curious
commission-
too, is there any, like, a background on the drive there to do that action, to connect into the wells?
Well, across central Texas, there's a big drive to have more conservation efforts, so yes, there is. Broadly speaking, yes.
Probably on that, we want more of a more clarification
Yeah.
from our technical.
Yes, that'd be great.
From technical staff at our next meeting. Okay. Well, I think there's some items here that we want, I guess, to discuss at our next meeting, for the technical staff to review. I wrote down here the lighting that Commissioner Rod mentioned. Maybe, I know it's there for safety, but I'm not sure if we could dictate to the developer, there's certain areas in that development we want to be lit, certain intersections. But I guess that's one question or clarification. The other one was the tree ordinance, or I'm sorry, on page 50, regarding the preliminary plat, or to add, like Commissioner Bates mentioned, to add that reference, the tree ordinance. And then this last item on page 47, section 3.10, regarding the water well. Any other comments that I missed, or any other questions that we have for staff to take it back to to the technical team? No? No, we're good. So I guess with that, we'll probably need one more meeting to review, to bring this back to planning and zoning
yeah.
before we could
That's fine. We can,
take it to city council.
This can be, like I said, brought forward in April to city council, so.
Okay, and is that timeline okay with? We're good.
They have some other items to address in March, so we'll save
We're
it for
good.
April.
Okay. Well, I appreciate everyone's efforts in reviewing the new, I know it's a lot to cover, and appreciate all the feedback. So moving on to item 4.5, future agenda items. Well, we're going to have this item, hopefully, the subdivision ordinance back for P and Z. Any other agenda items that we want to discuss for the next meeting? We're good? Okay. Moving on, item 5, citizen comment period. Do we have any citizens? Nope. Any questions that got submitted, Marissa? No, or, okay. Well, moving on, and now it is 6:46. Move to adjourn the planning and zoning meeting. And we'll have a good evening, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.